So it got to the point where, unemployment in Nigeria began to rise. Ghanaians are a lot more passive. Our cultures, when you look at it like that, we are two very, very different people. Ghanaians felt very hard done by. They'll rent a one-bedroom house, and before you know it, there are 10 Nigerians living in it. So Ghanaians were told to leave the country, and they were given 2 weeks in which to leave. Whole stereotype, I could buy into that. Now they want to coin Afrobeats as being their own. Nigerians are taking the lead and it's not fair. But we all know that special number, 419. Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, today's video, I want to address a comment that was made. Somebody asked me, what is the rivalry between Ghana and Nigeria? Why don't Ghanaians like Nigerians? And I thought, actually, that would be a really great topic to address, because I feel like, although people know that there is a little bit of tension between Ghana and Nigeria, they don't really understand the reasoning behind it. So I'm going to go into that today. All right. So if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, make sure you do hit the subscribe button for me. I'd love it if you do that. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, the rivalry goes back a number of years. And how it started is that in 1980, there was a shortfall of jobs in Ghana, right? Times in Ghana were very, very difficult. So what happened was a lot of Ghanaians migrated to Nigeria, because Nigeria at the time was having, economically, they were doing really, really well. They were having an oil boom. There were plenty of jobs. It was just a great place to go to overall. And so over 1 million Ghanaians migrated from Ghana and went to Nigeria. Now, as the years went on, Nigeria's oil boom started to kind of come to an end, right? It started to subside a little bit. And because of that, it got to the point where Nigerians felt that, well, you know what, Ghanaians are coming here, they're taking our jobs away from us, things are harder because of them. And so now there was a bit of tension in the air. So it got to the point where, unemployment in Nigeria began to rise. A lot of tension began to be built. And it just wasn't very good overall, because the oil boom was over. Then a few years later, the president gave an executive order and said, all illegal immigrants must leave the country. And he did that in a bid to help the Nigerian economy recover, right? And give Nigerians jobs, right? And so the majority of people that were there at that time were Ghanaians. Ghanaians were considered the illegal immigrants. So Ghanaians were told to leave the country, and they were given 2 weeks in which to leave. So there was it created a lot of chaos. I mean, if you're told to pack up somewhere where you've now been living for a few years, you're told to pack up and leave, it's going to create a lot of problems for people, right? So they were given two weeks to leave. So what happened was a lot of people were given these bags, the checkered bags, we call them Ghana must go bags. These are either the red and white checkered or the blue and white checkers, and a lot of Ghanaians had to pack their stuff in there and leave the country very, very quickly, or they were going to be arrested and deported, which was not going to be good. It was better for them to leave voluntarily. So there was this mass migration that happened where people had to go back to Ghana. And so because of that, a lot of tension was in the air, and there was a lot of resentment between both Ghanaians and Nigerians. The journey back from Nigeria to Ghana, a lot of people struggled, a lot of hardships on the journey back, because obviously maybe financially they weren't necessarily ready for having to move back. They just hadn't prepared. Everything was just very, very rushed. And so Ghanaians felt very hard done by having to come back to Ghana at such short notice, right? And being called illegal immigrants. And so that just created a lot of tension between the two countries. Now, later on, Ghana's economy began to recover. So Ghana began to get its strength back, right? At some point, the city began to get stronger. And so Ghana was now a really great place to live again, especially in comparison to Nigeria. Although Nigeria, it did get better when the Ghanaians had left, but still Nigeria kind of struggled. The whole boom was definitely over, and it was felt within Nigeria. So later on, Nigerians then started to move to Ghana. So you can imagine what happened there. So a lot of Ghanaians who were hard done by, and remember what that pain felt like of having been given 2 weeks to leave, a lot of them held on to that whole thing. And so when Nigerians started to move to Ghana, it's now a problem, because they felt, well, you've kicked us out of Nigeria. Why are you coming to Ghana for? So now today, I feel like the rivalry between Ghana and Nigeria is still there. I would say it's a lot more playful, but then you always have people who are going to take things to the extreme, right? You're always going to have people who will hold on very much to the past and what happened, even if it didn't happen to them personally, they still hold on to it. Now, whether that's right or wrong, I'm not going to justify either side of the argument. I'm just presenting the facts as they are, right? So now we're in an era where a lot of Nigerians right now are coming to Ghana. The cedi is very strong in comparison to the Naira. And so people feel like there's more chances to better themselves economically by moving to Ghana. But Ghana still feels the pain of what the whole Ghana must go era was about. All right. So now the issue that we have is that there is a lot of stigma. As we all know, there is a lot of stigma around Nigerians and the stereotype that they've been given, right? For starters, Nigerians are known to be fraudsters. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But, you know, we all know that special number, 419, right? And so a lot of Nigerians are known for 419, scamming, all kinds of things, right? Nigerians, their personalities, when you compare it to Ghanaians, Nigerians are very loud, very bold, I'll say this one thing about Nigerians that I do know that I can say on, right? Is that Nigerians, when they see something that they want to go for, they put their eyes on it and they go for it. They really, really do. And if I compare that to how Ghanaians are a lot more passive, right? So that also creates a tension where Nigerians can sometimes come to the country and they will boldly go for what they want. And Ghanaians are not that way, right? They're a lot more reserved, a lot more passive. So Ghanaians don't push as much. And so it's almost like, well, the platform has been given, Nigerians are coming and taking the platform. That's very much what it feels like to people on the ground, right? It feels like Nigerians are coming, barging their way through. They're bringing their problems, they're bringing crime, they're bringing all of these issues. And that's the stigma that people don't like around Nigerians. You know, Nigerians are seen to be dominating certain industries within Ghana as well, especially when it comes to retail and trade. And so, you know, Ghana has tried to put some laws into place to prevent Nigerians taking too much away from Ghanaians, right, in certain sectors. And again, so once that happens, again, there is tension because Nigerians feel like, well, why aren't we free to trade? Because ECOWAS allows free movement, right? And so Nigerians feel a bit hard done by, like, why are you restricting us to come to Ghana and trade? But that's what the directive is here, right? Nigerians are not allowed to, they have restrictions on them in terms of what they are and are not allowed to do within Ghana. And so again, issues of resentment around that. You know, the Ghana Union often does protest against Nigerian businesses quite a lot. I remember recently on Instagram, it's probably last year or so, there was this vending event happening in Ghana where it was like a farmer's market, I guess you could say, right? Where people were coming and selling their items. And the place was full of Ghanaians, right? We're in Ghana, it's full of Ghanaians. And then there was this one particular trader who was Nigerian and she was coming to sell wigs and she was undercutting a lot of Ghanaians. Because Ghanaians have this thing where they don't really do competition so much, right? When it comes to the selling of things, everybody sells at the same price. There's no competition. Like, you can't just say, okay, well, I think you're too expensive, let me go here. Everybody pretty much lines up their prices. And so there is no real competition when it comes to buying things here, which I actually find quite annoying. I feel like it's competition. Like, if you want the people, do something in order to grab, like, there should be some level of competition when it comes to trade, but that doesn't really happen here so much. Everybody pretty much sells things at the same price, right? That's what I'm saying. Ghanaians they can be quite passive in that respect, right? Whereas Nigerians are like, listen, I'm going to get that business, I'm going to get it. And so what happened at this fair was that this Nigerian came with her wigs and she was undercutting a lot of the Ghanaians, and so it caused uproar. In fact, it turned into a whole attack where police had to come and they had to help this woman leave the place. They had to help her escape because she was being attacked for undercutting the Ghanaians by selling her price at her items at a lower price. And I'm sure there's many more stories around things like that, right? Because, like I said, Nigerians will come in and look at things as in competition, right? Because that's kind of how they're raised. They're raised to be quite direct and go for what they want to go for. If you've ever seen a Nigerian will study. A Nigerian can study for 20 years. They don't care. They will study because they have a mission in mind. Whereas Ghanaians are not raised that way. We are raised, our cultures, when you look at it like that, we are two very, very different people. Even though we do share a lot of traits culturally, we definitely have some differences, and it's the differences that we tend to focus on a lot. And that's the reason behind why people say, I don't like Nigerians, I don't like Ghanaians, because that competitive thing is there and we've never ever been able to dispel it. Also, when it comes to housing here, you'll find that, and I have personally seen this, I do some real estate stuff, and I've heard landlords tell me, the person coming, are they Nigerian? Because we don't accept Nigerians here. I've heard people tell me that blatantly, directly, we don't allow Nigerians here. And why don't they allow Nigerians? It's because they feel like Nigerians are going to come, they're going to be doing loud parties, they don't pay on time, they tend to pack people into houses. So they'll rent a one-bedroom house, and before you know it, there are 10 Nigerians living in it because they want to save money. And I actually find that quite funny because there is some truth in that. And the reason I'm saying that there is some truth in that is because Nigerians will hustle for certain things. They will disadvantage themselves, make themselves uncomfortable for a time just so that they can save money. That's what they're about. They're about saving money, And so that whole stereotype, I could buy into that for sure. And so a lot of landlords do not accept Nigerians when it comes to it. That's one of the first things they'll ask you. Is the person Nigerian? If they're Nigerian, they say no, then the place is not available for rent. Now, when we look at, even when it comes to music, again, there's a war between Ghana and Nigeria where Nigerians have kind of taken Afro beats, right? Nigeria have really... They didn't play when they came to do Afrobeats, and so Nigerians are known for like some really good Afrobeat tunes, and Ghanaians feel a little bit overshadowed by that. And so again, that creates tension in the air between the two, where we should be happy for each other. We're not happy for each other. We just feel like, here Nigerians come again, coming to take something that belongs to everybody. Now they want to coin Afrobeats as being their own. Nigerians are taking the lead, and it's not fair type thing. All of these things are contributing factors to the whole stereotype around why Ghanaians and Nigerians do not like each other. But I will be honest with you. On the ground, and the way it's portrayed in the media and amongst the very few that actually don't like each other, I would say it's not actually as bad as how it's been made out to be. I would say there is a lot of playfulness in it, especially when you look at the whole jollof wars, right? The jollof wars kind of started out being between Ghana and Nigeria. Whose jollof rice is better? I know I've had Nigerian friends in the past, right? And when it comes to jollof, when I eat their jollof, I'm like, this one is like swallowing pills. Like, why do you cook your jollof like this? But it's in humor, right? These people are my friends. So it's not like that. But I guess you could say there is a little bit of shade in it. Let's be honest, there is a little bit of shade in it. But it's pretty harmless, right? It's fun. And I think when it comes to being on the ground, I would say that it's playful for the most part. Although in saying that it's playful, there are people who will always take it to the extreme and make it serious, right? There are, let's not play about here, right? There are Ghanaian parents who, if you are Ghanaian and you bring a Nigerian to say you're marrying a Nigerian, that marriage will never happen over the person's dead body, as they say, right? Because they're just not going to allow it. Because for them, it's the ultimate disrespect. Like, you cannot do that. I've heard it in the Ghanaian circle so many times. The person's Nigerian, what? I've dated a Ghanaian. When I was in college, I dated this Ghanaian guy, and it was stigma. No one told me not to, but you could tell that this person was not going to be accepted just because they were Nigerian. And for a lot of our Ghanaian parents, that's just kind of how it was. And it's not a personal thing. It's not, I don't like him because he's Nigerian. It's just because the person is Nigerian. And I'm pretty sure it goes the other way as well. So it's just how it is, but it's not as bad as what people make out, especially now with times changing. I feel like people are more receptive to Ghanaians and Nigerians marrying. It's not that bad. But right now, I would say that there is tension in Ghana when it comes to Ghana and Nigerians, just because the number of Nigerians that are moving to Ghana, and there was the whole thing around this Nigerian chief who's coming to set up his own mini Nigeria within Ghana. And then, there was uproar around that. And so when you have things like that, it reopens the wound between Ghana and Nigeria. And that's pretty much what it is. But I would say, for the most part, the media, however we want to call the media is blowing it up more than what it actually is on the ground. So I would say, like I said already, I think it's pretty harmless for the most part there, but there are always going to be people that will take things to the extreme, which is not good. But that's where I'm going to end the video. Let me know what you think about what I've said. Did you know about what the reason behind the rivalry between Ghana and Nigeria? Have I missed anything? Let's add it into the comments. I would love to know what you guys think, how you feel about it. How do Ghanaians feel about Nigeria? How do Nigerians feel about Ghanaians? Is there really a war between the two? A war between the two, or is it just playful fun? Let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment, and share this video. Until next time, I am out. Nutifafa.
Me